Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today I am battling some kind of throat issue, so very sorry if I sound a little bit different than I normally do. But a lot of stuff has been going on at D23, a lot of announcements yesterday for pretty much the entire Disney Plus lineup of what's coming up in not only the fall, but also in the future, both with Marvel and also with Star Wars. And so I'm going to start off with a story here from Star Wars land, and that is that Kathleen Kennedy and Ewan McGregor have both now confirmed that the Obi Wan Kenobi Disney Plus TV show is indeed happening, and that all the scripts for the show have now been written. So you should remember that about a week or so ago, there was already a rumor being started that Obi Wan Kenobi series was indeed going to happen. It looks like that rumor has now been justified, so that source should definitely feel proud of having a reliable source of information on the inside, letting them know that this was going to happen. It's not really all that surprising, and I guess that's the reason why I'm still slightly concerned, as excited as I am, because this is something that I feel a lot of us Star Wars fans have been wanting for a very long time. I think ever since the prequels, we said, hey, you know what I'd like to see? I would like to see Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi continue on. I would like to see his story after. I want to see the in-between of after Revenge of the Sith and then leading up to A New Hope. That would be really cool. And unfortunately, when Disney took over, they did not really want to go in that direction. They decided, oh no, what we're going to do is we're going to use the old characters. We're going to use everything that George Lucas built up to try and push through our agendas, to try and push through characters, because we think that that's what characters should be focused on. That's because that's what we think audiences should be caring about, or more diverse characters, which again, there's nothing wrong with diversity, but when you're trying to say audiences, these are the characters that you should be liking, these are the characters that you need to start supporting, that is a little bit of a different approach. Natural diversity is very, very different than this forced diversity that Disney has been taking, especially Kathleen Kennedy. And I think that's the big thing that has currently got me so concerned for the show, is the fact that not only is Kathleen Kennedy a part of these announcements, which of course it makes sense, she's still the president of Lucasfilm, but the fact that she was on stage specifically for the Obi-Wan Kenobi announcement. And I think that's the reason why I'm kind of in that mixed bag, where I think that there are some things that could be really good, but I'm also still strongly concerned, because we all know where the films have gone. We all know that Kathleen Kennedy's involvement in the films has led to just a lot of bland Star Wars movies that have just led to a lot of, I think, just movies that aren't going to be memorable in 20 to 25 years. I mean, we're still talking about films that came out, 40 years ago. We're still talking about films like A New Hope. We're still talking about films that came out in the 70s and 80s, and they are still seen for the juggernauts that they are, but also they're still seen for the amazing stories that they are. We're even still talking about the prequels, though I will say that we're talking about the prequels for very different types of reasons, but I think most of us can at least say, you know what, though, it did continue the story, and the overall story wasn't that terrible, just some dialogue and some visual effects and things like that. But when it comes to the new Star Wars stuff, it's all based on the new characters, right? And the new characters just aren't that compelling. Like, seriously, who honestly, besides just maybe a handful of people, and again, when I speak hyperbolically, I don't mean just a handful of people. Obviously, that means like probably in the thousands, if not maybe even close to 1 million people. I love giving numbers like that because it pisses people off, that are actually excited for the new characters, that actually genuinely love the character of Rey, genuinely love the character of Finn. And I can say I was interested in those characters after The Force Awakens, but then of course we get The Last Jedi, and that's always like that stopping point where it's like, no, that's where they've made it very clear. We do not care what Star Wars fans want. We do not care what the fandom wants. We do not care what the fandom thinks, because we're going to go ahead and do whatever the hell it is that we want to do, even though, we're still trying to make money because we're still a business and money is good, but we're not going to listen to the fans. We're not going to hear them out. In fact, in many cases, we're going to allow our creators like Rian Johnson to mock and openly mock the fans that are critical of his movie, when most people, I would say, when you look at the numbers, would at least argue that as far as like the hardcore fandom is concerned, there's probably close to a 50-50 split. Some say more in one direction, but I think a 50-50 split in hardcore fandom is a pretty good indication as far as what people feel about that movie, The Last Jedi. But guess what? Rian Johnson was chosen by Kathleen Kennedy. Guess what? Rian Johnson was propped up and is still being propped up by Kathleen Kennedy. You want to know why? Because he is someone that will listen to her and do whatever it is that she wants, right? He will be a puppet for her, and that's the kind of people that she wants around her, are people that are easy to work with, is how she words it. But what that means is that, oh, you're going to code the company line, and you're not going to go ahead and try and do anything different, right? Why do you think Lord Miller got fired? Because they went away and started doing their own thing, which could have been really cool, could have been really great, and she didn't like it. Why do you think, Colin Trevorrow got fired? because his ideas were not matching up with the ideas of Kathleen Kennedy, and so therefore he was no longer going to be a part of it. And then when he started to leak some of the things that he was going to try and some of the stories, a lot of Star Wars fans said, hey, why? Why would you not want that to be a part of the universe? That could be really interesting. Here, I really do feel like we're in an area where there's a lot of questions because we've never had, at this point, a Disney Plus Star Wars story, right? We know The Mandalorian. We got the trailer for The Mandalorian, which I think looks pretty good for the most part, though I definitely, again, still have my reservations about some of the CGI use and how much money they're putting into the episodes, and are they going to be able to keep up this amount of quality in every single episode, in every single season, or is there an end in sight? And also, the big question, of course, is how much pull and how much power does someone like a Jon Favreau actually have? And the reason why I now have that concern more so than before is because of the fact that this show, a Disney Plus show, was introduced by Kathleen Kennedy, who up to this point really hasn't shown to have that much of a hand in a lot of the Disney Plus dealings with Star Wars, right? Because what was the main focus over at Comic-Con? It wasn't on Kathleen Kennedy, it was on Jon Favreau, and it was on Dave Filoni. Those were the two main focal points. Those were the two big talking heads. Obviously, Kathleen Kennedy was there, but when it came to the shows, when it came to Clone Wars Season 7, when it came to the Mandalorian panel, the crux of it was all about Jon Favreau's vision and was all about Dave Filoni's part in it, and of course, Dave Filoni's part in the upcoming Season 7 of Clone Wars. And so it kind of made Star Wars fans feel a little bit at ease, right? Because Dave Filoni, he's someone that we all know. Any Star Wars fan knows Dave Filoni, knows what he did with Clone Wars, knows what he did with Rebels. Even under the leadership of Disney, he was able to still create a really great show with great characters in Rebels, though I think some could easily argue one is better than the other, though I think both are good shows for very different reasons. But with all that being said, he was somebody that worked directly under George Lucas and also is a creative mind that worked directly under George Lucas. Kathleen Kennedy has shown herself to not be a creative mind. If you want proof positive of that, just look at how different The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are. Look at the fact that she had no problem splitting up these three films to three different directors with three different visions, and yet they're supposed to all still be a part of a conclusive trilogy. They're all supposed to be a part of this broader Star Wars universe. And now we're in the point now where even still, we are feeling the ramifications and the effects of The Last Jedi because of how much it broke the Star Wars universe, how much it even broke the Star Wars canon with stupid things like hyperspace ramming, which does not make any sense and also brings into question every other thing that came before because, okay, why didn't you just hyperspace ram the Death Star? And if you say, oh, it's because of the shields, okay, those ships that were hyperspace rammed also had shields, and yet that was not a problem there. So as you can see, there are issues at play. There are many other issues, of course, that have been broken down, and many people have spent hours and hours breaking down The Last Jedi, but I want to be excited for this. I really do. And getting back to the main show here, I want to be excited, but I mentioned all of those things because all of that has been under the Kathleen Kennedy regime. All that has been under her direction. All that has been under her control. And to see her face firmly attached to this series has me concerned. It also now has me even more concerned about Disney Plus because I had that hope that maybe the Disney Plus stuff, even though it was under Star Wars, even though it was still under the Lucasfilm brand and therefore under the Kathleen Kennedy brand, would be able to have some type of autonomy, right? Would be able to have some type of the ability to break away from the chains of the cinematic universe, to break away from the control of Kathleen Kennedy, and do their own thing to the point of just creating awesome, new, original Star Wars content. But having her attached to it, having her name and her face very much a part of this universe by her coming out there right along with Ewan McGregor. I mean, seriously, if you want to have a great image, if you want to actually get fans excited, especially fans like me that have been disaffected ever since these changes have been going through, ever since, Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson came onto the scene with The Last Jedi, and also I would say ever since Kathleen Kennedy has proven herself to be completely incompetent when she fired two directors 80% of the way through filming a movie to lead to a $200 million loss for Solo: A Star Wars Story. If you're going to go ahead and put her out there, that's a terrible image. What could have been better is if you had just had Ewan McGregor. That's the person that you want to have selling the movie, not Kathleen Kennedy. You don't want her anywhere near this. She is toxic, just like Rian Johnson. If they had Rian Johnson show up when talking about the future of Star Wars films, which again, I'm sure they're going to have a panel on, the future of the Star Wars cinematic universe since they've now focused here on that. If you had Rian Johnson come out and say, oh, look, guys, see, my trilogy is still happening, and here are the ideas that we have, here are the release dates, here's the overall story, you would easily then turn off about half of the hardcore fan base, like what happened with Star Wars: Last Jedi. So in the similar way, you have two people, Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, that are really toxic to that brand, and now you have one of them being attached to a show that fans have wanted for a long time. However, I would say that us fans should probably be cautious about this show because as awesome as it could be, as awesome as Ewan McGregor is, as awesome as this potential show has to be, why didn't they do this years ago when they could have? Why didn't they make an Obi Wan Solo film And why didn't they decide to go in this direction earlier on? You want to know the reason why? You want to know why we have shows like The Mandalorian and this? Do you realize that The Mandalorian has more buzz going for it than Star Wars Episode 9? Do you realize that even after a day, the Obi Wan Kenobi series has more passion and has more fire behind it than the Episode 9? Like, what does that make you realize? It makes you realize that the cinematic universe has been so tainted that now brand new shows and concepts are more interesting. And why do you think they chose Obi-Wan? Why do they think that they've been focusing on The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau? And why do you think they've been focusing on The Clone Wars Season 7 with Dave Filoni? Because they've recognized that they have lost hardcore fans. They realize that they have lost the core of their audience and that they need to get them back. And so that's why I would say be very, very cautious with this move, because this is them trying to bait and switch us. This is them trying to say, look, we're finally giving you what you want. You've wanted Obi-Wan. Finally, we're going to give it to you. Oh my gosh, you wanted more Clone Wars. We're finally going to give it to you. Even though you have to wait until 2020. Oh my gosh, we're going to give you all of these things, and all you have to do is sign up for our Disney Plus streaming service, and we're going to give you what you want. Even though we're still going to break your hearts when the cinematic universe is concerned, and we're still going to continue to do the same pandering nonsense that we're going to continue to do, because that's not just the thing Lucasfilm's doing, it's also, of course, what in the entirety of Disney's doing, because we haven't even gotten to the Marvel announcements, which we'll get into in a separate video, because that, to me, is also very telling of the direction that they're trying to go with this. But what are y'all's thoughts on this? Are you actually excited for an Obi-Wan series? Again, as I said, there's a part of me that wants to be excited. There's a part of me that wants to be like, oh my God, yes, day one, I'm going to be buying that service. I'm going to be watching it. But as you all know, I'm just so in an anti-Disney funk right now because of all the stupid stuff they've been doing on screen and off screen that I just don't trust them. The fact that Kathleen Kennedy especially was a part of this announcement taints the entire thing for me, because she has shown herself to be incompetent. And I don't want any incompetence being attached to anything else in the Star Wars universe. And the only way they can get people like me and other hardcore fans back to be fully on board shows like this, to be fully on board Mandalorian, to be fully on board your streaming service, is to finally get rid of the dead weight that's been holding you down and holding you back now for years. Until that happens, you're going to keep people like me out in the dark. We might be able to watch these series, but it's not going to be by directly watching it on the streaming service. I can tell you that much, allegedly. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please, if you like this video, smash that like button, give us a subscribe, it helps us a lot. Again, I know my voice is a little off today. That's because I'm dealing with some throat issues right now. And of course, you all know, I mentioned this in the video yesterday, that River has been sick. She's feeling a lot better today, thank goodness, but we were definitely concerned for a little bit because there was an issue with potential internal bleeding, which turned out maybe just to be an ulcer. But obviously that kind of stuff is always going to freak us out. So originally I was actually going to be going home this weekend, but that has changed. I'm not determined whether I'm going to be doing a Saturday night live stream tonight. It will really just depend on how my throat is feeling by that time. But if we do, of course, we'll let you guys know on Twitter and all the social medias. But I will probably try and get one more video up today, or I'll just wait and save the Marvel stuff for tomorrow, depending on my voice. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.